The courtroom was so quiet you could hear the ceiling fan clicking above us. My ex-husband stood, straightening his expensive suit like he was auditioning for sainthood. His voice didn't shake, it was smooth, practiced. "I never laid a hand on her," he said. "She's just trying to get sympathy. There's no proof." His lawyer nodded, lips pressed into that smug little smirk he wore every time I was told to calm down, sit still, or move on. I didn't say a word. I kept my hands folded tightly in my lap, digging my nails into the soft skin of my palm just to stay grounded, not out of fear, but because I knew that anything I said would be twisted. He was good at that. He had spent years making me feel like I was the one losing control. Then, from behind me, I heard the small voice I knew better than my own heartbeat. "Mom," she said, tugging gently on my sleeve. "Can I give the judge the video I found in Daddy's phone?" My heart stuttered. My breath caught. Before I could ask what she meant, the judge leaned forward slightly. Everyone turned to look. I glanced at him. His face had gone pale. "What video?" I whispered. She reached into her backpack and pulled out her tablet, the pink one with the unicorn sticker peeling off the corner. She held it like it was made of glass. "I saved it," she said, louder this time, her voice steady. "It's from when Daddy got mad at you and filmed it on his phone. I saw it by accident when I was looking for my singing video." My stomach dropped. His lawyer stood up. "Your Honor, this is highly inappropriate." The judge held up his hand. "Let's see what she's talking about." I sat frozen, my hands shaking in my lap. She walked to the front of the courtroom, placed her tablet on the table, and tapped the screen. The video started playing, loud and undeniable. But that moment, the one right before it started, that's what I keep replaying in my head. The way his confident mask cracked for the first time. The way she stood with her shoulders back like she had more courage than I'd had in years. The way the judge didn't hesitate. You see, for years I thought my silence protected my daughter. But it turns out she was the one watching, listening, remembering. And in the end, she was the one who made them all hear the truth. I didn't grow up dreaming of a perfect marriage. I just wanted something safe, stable, something different from the chaos I was raised in. So when I met him, I thought I had finally found that. He was charming, attentive, the kind of man who opened car doors and made waitresses laugh. He looked like someone people respected. And I think that's what hooked me at first. I was 24, working 2 jobs, and completely exhausted. He made me feel like I could breathe. We got married after a year of dating. Everyone said it was fast, but I wanted to believe that good things didn't always need time to prove themselves. When I found out I was pregnant, he cried. He told me we were going to be a perfect family. I believed him. It started small. Comments about how I dressed. Jokes that felt more like warnings. A cold silence when I disagreed with him in front of friends. The first time he slammed a door so hard it cracked the frame, she was 3 months old. I told myself he was tired. Stressed. He was still a good father, I said. He never hurt her, only me. By the time she was 5, I had learned how to predict his moods the way other people checked the weather. I knew how to smile when my chest was tight. How to excuse myself quietly from a conversation when I saw his jaw twitch. I stopped going to family events. He didn't like my sister. Said she filled my head with drama. The truth was, she saw through him from day one. One night, after he shoved me hard enough that I hit the edge of the kitchen counter, she walked in. She didn't scream or cry. She just stood there holding her little stuffed bear, her eyes wide and blank. He stormed off to the bedroom. I knelt down, tried to smile like it was nothing. "It's okay, baby. Mommy's okay." She looked at me for a long time. Then she asked, "Do daddies yell like that when they love you?" That question undid me. I called my sister the next morning. She drove over without asking for details and helped me pack. I took my daughter and left with 2 suitcases and a savings account I'd been building in secret for months. I moved into a tiny 2-bedroom apartment across town. The ceilings leaked. The walls were thin. But for the first time in years, I could breathe without waiting for someone to explode. I filed for full custody. I had no criminal charges, no official police reports, just a history of emotional and physical abuse I had never documented. My lawyer warned me it might be hard to prove. He had money, connections, and the image of a perfect suburban dad. He wasn't going down without a fight. His lawyer filed a countersuit, claiming I was emotionally unstable and trying to alienate him from his daughter. Said I was vindictive and dishonest. It was like being punched all over again, just in public this time. Every hearing felt like a game I didn't know the rules to. He was polished, calm, always with a slight smile as if he knew something I didn't. Meanwhile, I was in therapy, working 2 jobs, and trying to help her sleep through the night again. She had started flinching at sudden sounds. She asked a lot of questions she never used to ask. Why do daddies have rules but mommies get punished? Why does daddy say you're lying? Why do I have to visit if I don't want to? I kept every text he sent. I took pictures of the bruises he left during custody drop-offs when no one was around. I recorded how she acted when she came home from visits, clingy, withdrawn, sometimes quiet for hours. I gave everything I had to my lawyer. But it always came back to the same line. There's no solid evidence. Still, I held the line. I didn't yell in court. I didn't cry in front of the judge. I stayed calm, collected, and exhausted beyond anything I'd ever known. Because I had one job: protect my daughter. And I thought I was doing it. I thought I was shielding her. But the truth was, she saw everything. She remembered everything. And when I thought all hope was lost, she was the one who stood up and gave the judge the truth I couldn't. The courthouse always smelled like bleach and old paper. I sat on the hard bench outside the courtroom, knees bouncing, hands locked together so tightly my knuckles ached. She sat beside me, swinging her legs, holding her stuffed bear with one arm and her tablet with the other. She didn't ask questions. She just watched me quietly like she was trying to understand what kind of day it was going to be. My lawyer walked over and sat next to me. She gave me a tired but kind smile. "They're inside already," she said. "The judge is reviewing the parenting evaluations. Be ready, his lawyer is going to be aggressive today." I nodded. My throat was dry. I had barely slept the night before. He had filed a last-minute motion to push for joint custody, claiming I was emotionally unstable and had been coaching her against him. He brought in a statement from one of his co-workers saying he had never seen him be anything but kind and level-headed. His lawyer was known for being ruthless and theatrical. I felt like I was walking into a performance and I didn't know my lines. When the bailiff called us in, I took her hand and stood. She held on tight. The courtroom was smaller than it looked on TV. The walls were wood-paneled, and the judge sat behind a massive desk looking tired and unreadable. He was already there, seated beside his lawyer in a clean blue suit, hair slicked back, wearing that same smirk he always wore when he thought he was winning. He looked at me like I was a guest in his movie. We sat down. The judge nodded toward his lawyer. He stood and launched straight into character. "Your Honor, my client has made every effort to maintain a healthy, stable relationship with his daughter, despite the mother's repeated attempts to alienate him. There is no police record, no medical documentation, no confirmed history of abuse. My client asserts that the accusations brought against him are not only false but emotionally manipulative. We are requesting that full custody be shared equally between both parents." I felt the words hit like a drum. False. Manipulative. No proof. He made me sound like some bitter ex who was angry things didn't work out. He never once said my name, just the mother, like I was a role, not a person. My lawyer stood to respond, but I barely heard her. My heart was pounding too loudly. Then he stood to speak. Calm. Respectful. Eyes forward. "I love my daughter," he said, "and I would never hurt her or her mother. She's just trying to keep me out of her life. I never laid a hand on her. She's exaggerating for sympathy. There's no proof." He said it like he'd practiced it 100 times. I looked at the judge. He didn't react. I could feel the weight of the silence after he sat down. It felt final, like his words had sealed something. I wanted to scream. I wanted to stand and shake the truth out of the walls. But I stayed seated. That was the plan: stay calm, be composed, let the evidence speak for itself. Except, there was never enough of it. A bruise fades. A scream disappears. A child's behavior is dismissed as confusion. A mother's voice, too emotional. A father's voice, steady and confident, must be telling the truth. I glanced down at her. She was still holding her tablet, tracing her finger over the edge of the screen. Her face was unreadable, but her grip on my arm had tightened. The judge turned to me. "Is there anything else you'd like to submit at this time?" I opened my mouth, but before I could answer, she whispered, "Mom." I turned. She leaned in closer, whispering again. Can I give the judge the video I found in Daddy's phone? I stared at her. What video? I asked quietly. The one where he's yelling at you. The one he filmed, she said. I found it when I was looking for my singing video. I sat frozen. He shifted in his seat. She looked up at me. I saved it. I can show him. The room suddenly felt smaller. Later, I glanced at him. His smile was gone. For the first time since this all began, the weight started shifting, and it was her, small, brave, and holding the truth in her tiny hands, who was about to turn the tide. I looked at her, her small face tilted toward me, waiting for permission. Her voice had been steady, but her fingers trembled slightly on the tablet screen. She wasn't scared of the courtroom. She wasn't afraid of the judge. She was afraid of me telling her no. He was watching us closely now. His posture had changed. His hand gripped the edge of the table. His lawyer leaned in to whisper something, but he ignored him. He knew what she had found. He knew exactly what video she was talking about. I turned to the judge. Your Honor, I said, standing slowly, my daughter has something she would like to submit into evidence. The courtroom shifted. I could feel the attention refocus like a spotlight. The judge raised an eyebrow. She's 7, his lawyer objected. Your Honor, this is completely irregular. She's not testifying, I said. She has something to show you, something that was recorded by him himself. The judge paused for a moment, then looked at her. Come forward, please. She let go of my hand and stepped up to the table. She looked so small standing there, holding her pink tablet like it was a shield. She tapped the screen, then looked at the judge. Her voice was soft but clear. I found this when I was trying to watch one of my singing videos. I saved it because I didn't want to forget that Mommy wasn't lying. She turned the screen toward him and hit play. The courtroom was silent except for the sound of his voice pouring from the tablet, loud, furious, cruel. You're pathetic. You think anyone's ever going to believe you? You can't even keep a house clean. You're lucky I haven't done worse. Then the sound of something crashing. My voice pleading. A sob. Heavy footsteps. A loud bang. And then the phone dropping, the image shifting sideways, showing me, backed against the wall, hands up, crying. The video ended. She stepped back. The judge stared at the screen for a moment longer before looking up at him. His voice was flat and firm. Is this you, sir? He didn't answer. His lawyer stood quickly. Your Honor, this is taken without context. It was found by a minor. This is highly unorthodox and should not. The judge raised his hand. Sit down. His eyes stayed on him. Is this your voice? Is this your recording? His lips moved, but no words came out. His confidence had drained from him completely. The judge turned back to me. Did you know this video existed before today? No, sir, I said. I had no idea. She found it on his phone while she was visiting. She airdropped it to her tablet. She held it up. I wanted to keep it, in case he said it didn't happen. I could see the courtroom clerk writing quickly. The bailiff shifted slightly. His face was blank, like he had left the room without standing up. The judge leaned back in his chair. He didn't deliberate. He didn't ask another question. This changes everything, he said. Custody will not be shared. Primary custody is awarded to you effective immediately. He will be granted supervised visitation only, pending review. This court will also be notifying Child Protective Services and reopening the petition for domestic violence restraining order. He paused, then added, This video is now court evidence. Thank you, young lady, for showing the truth. I reached out to take her hand, but she wrapped her arms around me instead. She held on so tightly it made my chest ache, not from pain this time, but from something deeper, relief, gratitude, pride. I thought I had been protecting her. But the truth was, she had been watching everything. And when the moment came, she didn't freeze. She didn't hide. She stood up and gave a voice to the truth I had carried alone for years. He was still sitting there, frozen in his seat. The mask had finally cracked. And for the first time in a long time, he had nothing to say. The courtroom emptied slowly, but I didn't move. I sat there, my arms around her, her head resting against my chest. The weight of her body grounded me in a way that felt both surreal and necessary. I had prepared myself to lose again, to walk out of there carrying the same ache I had grown used to. But everything had changed in a single moment. Not because I had proven anything, but because she had. The judge left the bench, papers in hand, but his words echoed in my mind, "This changes everything." A clerk approached us gently and asked if we needed an escort to our car. I shook my head. My hands were still shaking, but I had never felt so steady inside. I looked at him as we stood to leave. He hadn't moved. His lawyer was packing up papers quickly, avoiding eye contact with everyone. He kept his eyes on the table, jaw tight, shoulders stiff. The man who once looked untouchable now looked like he was waiting for the floor to open beneath him. She looked up at me. "Are we going home now?" I nodded. "We are." Outside the courthouse, the sun felt too bright. I hadn't expected to leave feeling lighter. The years of pressure I had carried on my chest had started to lift, like someone had finally reached in and pulled away the weight. We walked to the car in silence. She held my hand the whole way. Once she climbed into the back seat, I paused before closing her door. "Why didn't you show me the video earlier?" I asked gently. She looked up from her tablet. "I didn't know if I was allowed. Daddy said not to talk about anything unless someone asked. But then you were so quiet in court, and he said bad things again, and I got mad. I remembered the video and thought maybe the judge would believe you if he saw it." She spoke like it was the most obvious thing in the world, like courage was something you just pull out of your backpack when you need it. I didn't know whether to cry or laugh, so I smiled instead. "You did the right thing," I said. "I'm proud of you." We drove home. I didn't turn on the radio. I didn't talk much. I just kept looking in the rearview mirror at her, sitting quietly, legs swinging, a soft hum under her breath as she traced shapes on her tablet screen. She looked peaceful for the first time in weeks. When we pulled into our apartment complex, my sister was waiting outside. She had been checking in every day since the custody hearings began. The second she saw my face, she walked straight to me and pulled me into a hug. "What happened?" she whispered. I didn't need to say anything. She beat me to it. "I showed the judge the video," she said, hopping out of the car. "The one Daddy made when he was yelling at Mommy. He believed us." My sister looked at me, stunned. "She showed him a video? Where did it come from?" "From his phone," I said. "He recorded it. She found it." She blinked, then shook her head. "I always knew that girl was special." We walked inside together. That night, I let her fall asleep in my bed, curled under the blankets beside me. I watched her breathe, calm and steady, and I realized what had just happened wasn't the end of the fight. But it was the first time the truth had stood taller than the lie. The court had seen who he really was. And more importantly, so had she. Not because I told her. Not because I forced her to believe me. But because she had witnessed it herself, and had the strength to speak up. I thought about how many women never get that moment. How many are still sitting in silence, praying someone will believe them without needing proof. I didn't get justice because I was loud enough or brave enough. I got justice because my daughter, a little girl who had seen too much too soon, refused to let the lie win. And because of her, everything was different now. It's been 8 months since that day in court. We're still in the same apartment, but it feels different now, lighter, brighter. Not because the space changed, but because we did. We stopped surviving and started living. There are no more sudden outbursts behind closed doors. No more flinching when the door opens. No more quiet panic when the phone rings from an unknown number. He still calls sometimes. He leaves voicemails, asking for another chance at supervised visits. His tone has shifted. It's no longer demanding, it's desperate. I send them straight to my lawyer. The judge's ruling stands. She doesn't have to see him. She doesn't ask about him either. In therapy, she's made progress. Her questions now are different. She no longer asks if yelling means love. She asks why some people stay angry when they don't get their way. She's learning that someone hurting you is never your fault, that keeping a secret to protect the person who hurt you is not love, it's fear dressed up as loyalty. And she's done being afraid. One afternoon she asked me if I remembered the video. I told her I did. I asked if she wanted to delete it. She shook her head. "No, I don't want to forget what happened. Not because I'm scared, but because it helped us." She doesn't watch it, but she keeps it stored in a locked folder, just in case someone ever questions the truth again. I didn't tell her to do that. She made the choice on her own. I used to believe staying silent was a form of strength. That if I just held it together long enough, the storm would pass and we'd be okay. But silence doesn't protect, it hides. And when you live in hiding long enough, you start to forget what safety really feels like. She reminded me of that. She reminded me that truth, no matter how terrifying or messy, has power. It makes people uncomfortable. It shifts rooms. It ends lies that have lived too long. I've started speaking at support groups now. Not because I have all the answers, but because I finally understand the value of being heard. When I sit in those circles and look into the eyes of other women who feel invisible, I tell them what I wish someone had told me. You don't need bruises to prove your pain. You don't need to wait until he crosses some invisible line. You're allowed to leave before it gets worse. And most importantly, your child doesn't need a two-parent household. They need a safe one. The court didn't save me. The law didn't swoop in and fix everything. What changed my life was a 7-year-old girl who refused to let the truth stay hidden. She minds often, her holding her pink tablet, standing in front of the judge without fear. She never looked back at him. She looked forward, at the truth, at the future. She was the smallest person in that courtroom, but she was the one who carried the most power that day. And I carry that with me now. Every time I doubt myself, I remember that even when I was drowning, I raised a child brave enough to speak up when I couldn't. We're not the same people we were. I'm no longer the woman who explained away bruises or apologized for walking on eggshells. I'm a mother who listens more carefully now. Who doesn't tell her daughter to be quiet just to keep the peace. Who no longer measures strength by how much she can endure, but by how boldly she can protect the life she's rebuilding. And she is not just a survivor. She's a truth teller. A protector. A reminder that sometimes the most powerful voices come from the smallest people. We live differently now. We laugh louder. We sleep peacefully. We speak without fear. And we never, ever apologize for telling the truth. If Thai didn't do it to win. She didn't do it to hurt anyone. She did it because she believed I deserved to be heard. That moment replays in my story moved you. If it reminded you of someone you know, or maybe even your own story, please know you're not alone. There is strength in your voice. There is power in being believed. And sometimes, the most unexpected heroes are the ones sitting quietly beside us, watching, learning, and waiting for their moment to speak. If you found meaning in what you just heard, take a second to like this video. It helps this story reach someone who may need it today. Share it with anyone who's been through something similar, or who needs to be reminded that the truth matters, no matter how long it's been hidden. I would love to hear your thoughts, your stories, or even just one word that stood out to you. Drop a comment below. I read every one of them. And if you want more stories like this, real, raw, and honest, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And most of all, thank you for believing survivors.